The Kirby series is notorious for having all sorts of demonic entities, creatures born from places we cannot comprehend, attack Dreamland on different occasions, and clash not only with the cutesy tone of the franchise but the embodiment of innocence, Kirby, as well. But sometimes the clueless pink hero meets opponents who are clearly more cunning than your usual devil and reach their goal with a carefully sophisticated plan. Naive as Kirby is, he does not question a possible new friend at all, only to find himself being stabbed in the back when he starts to find himself as an obstacle for the foe's plans. By this point, betrayal is a relatively common theme in the Kirby franchise. It keeps certain characters unpredictable and can also appear on the enemy side as well. Kirby's childlike, credulous nature offers itself greatly for this scenario because Kirby does not distrust anyone if they are friendly to him. It only makes sense for opponents to make use of his assistance due to a lack of power or simply convenience. But this supposedly weakness is also Kirby's greatest advantage, as he will not hesitate to immediately strike back or show a single resentful sign. Anyone who disrupts his peace will be destroyed as much as anyone who decides to befriend Kirby will enjoy a comfy companion. Betrayal is often used with partner characters in stories. A seeming friend who shows his true side at the end is so effective due to the bond that was formed throughout the adventure. It's hard to comprehend how the cunning wolf among the sheep could put up a smiling mask all that time while hiding his true face beneath a much greater plan. In case you are new to the franchise, you may have come across a certain meme that makes its rounds among the community regarding certain partner characters like Marx, Margalore, or even Alphalin. At first, all of them seem to be friendly partner who will support Kirby to navigate through all sorts of troubles and help whenever they can. Especially in the case with Alphalin, there never was a bigger suspicion among the community to a point where you could find countless theories and videos why this creature will betray Kirby. Of course, it was impossible to say if this suspicion would turn out to be true based on a few trailers, but there was a reason to believe why Alphalin may have something in mind. Now we know his background, and although this whole suspicion was at least halfway true, it only shows how trained the fans are to disbelieve every new partner that approaches Kirby, especially if their background is kept hidden. So let's take a look into the past of the franchise and observe the most essential betrayals. Kirby Superstar originally released on the Super Nintendo and features a collection of self-contained adventures that are all loosely connected but independent for the most part. We're going to ignore most of them and solely focus on Milky Way Wishes, the final part of Kirby Superstar. Here we met Marx, a small jester-like creature who likes to balance on balls and begs Kirby to stop the fight between the sun and the moon by summoning Nova, a powerful star that can grant any wishes. In doing so, Kirby made a terrible mistake as Marx takes the opportunity to tackle Kirby away and use Nova to wish for limitless power and become the ruler of Popstar. Obviously, without hesitation, Kirby battles against the unexpected enemy, ending not only the conflict between the sun and the moon, but the Marx madness as well. At first glance, there seems nothing special about the supposed to be twist. It was done many times in games before and is executed as bare bones as you'd imagine such a turn. What makes this moment so special, however, is the series it takes place in. Back in the day, it was not common for Kirby games to have any special plot points beyond simple bad guys wanting to rule over the world, so no one was expecting a twist villain in a Kirby game. Naturally, it is executed rather clumsy with no real build-up whatsoever, but it was the first sign of a more elaborated final and should set the stones for later. Although featuring no real three-dimensional gameplay, Kirby 64 is the first entry of the series on Nintendo's big 3D console, and stands out by simply sticking to the traditional style of presenting the perspective from the side. Despite that, the camera movement is way more flexible and gives off the illusion of a truly explorable world. But it's not only the gameplay which benefited from the additional hardware power the N64 provided. Kirby's Adventure fans surely remember the small cutscenes that played for each world to create a charming connection between all the different places. The same goes for Kirby 64 as well, as the game features more cutscenes than any other Kirby game before and follows a similar, often rather comedic style. Here we see Kirby and his companions traveling through the worlds as they try to collect all the crystal shards pieces to help the little fairy Ribbon to rescue her home planet. After you beat countless foes and destroy the roots of the evil, everything seems to be fine once again, with only one smaller but important important exception. When beating the game without getting the 100%, the leader of the fairies is shown to hide some evil scheme, which is a hint to go back and find all remaining crystal pieces. Obviously, dumb baby me thought this was a hint towards a successor in the future, but when you complete the game rightfully, it is revealed that the leader was possessed by the true enemy all along, and as a last-ditch attempt to guard itself from the light of the crystal, it flees immediately after being exposed. Once again, I do not try to market this as some sort of brilliant narrative, but you can see the little attention to detail by using one of the characters to tell the player indirectly about the true ending of the game, without using text boxes or anything similar. It was enough for me as a child to be interested, which at the end matters most in a Kirby game. Many years should pass, and after a long hiatus on home consoles, Kirby's return to Dreamland should finally bring back the traditional two-dimensional gameplay on modern home consoles. With a fresh new look and modernized gameplay, it was time to see what the developers had in mind. While the main gimmick certainly is more on the impressive side, it was extremely amazing to see the 4-player mode with characters like Meta Knight, King Dedede or Head Goomba. You may think this is nothing special since Star Allies gives you the opportunity to use a bunch of interesting characters from the past, but back in the day it wasn't something common and would only work out in specific modes, like Meta Knight's Revenge in Nightmare in Dreamland. But these are not the only characters who are important to the story. When a magical ship appears from another dimension, it gets destroyed while landing, with all the parts spreading across Pop Star. Margolor, a small alien-like creature, begs Kirby and his friends to help him, and after Kirby understands nothing but agreeing nonetheless, the adventure starts. At this point there's no need for me to build up a reveal, as it should be more than obvious how Margolor betrayed everyone and used Kirby to get the Master Crown. For many young players, including me, this was the first time being exposed to such a twist in the Kirby game, but there's a reason why Margolor is still the best twist villain in the franchise. Unlike Marx, the player is actually able to create a bond with his new friend, thanks to having the option to talk and visit Margolor whenever you like. He gives you information about the supposed to be home planet and cheers for you, so there's a real effort to let Margolor appear as lovable as possible. I don't know about you, but stupid baby me was quite shocked about his betrayal, and because the Dream Collection never released in Europe, I hated this little guy for a long while, even though he seemingly apologized in this game. I'm not sorry, Margolor. Whatever the case may be, one thing I really enjoy about Margolor is how he never really got rid of his cunning personality. Yes, it's not like he wants to rule the whole universe anymore, at least I think, but you can still see his cheeky personality in his animations and how he moves. After all, Margolor is the one who tries to sell gem apples with real money in a game for children, so it's safe to say to never trust this odd fellow completely. Every so often, Kirby's lucky enough to be just a bystander in a greater narrative. In Planet Robobot, we meet the stoic assistant Susie, who gets in Kirby's way on more than one occasion and has the goal to stop him at all costs. It's clear from the get-go that there is someone bigger behind the scenes, and when we finally meet this someone, it's time to show Susie's real face. As a spy, she betrays her boss, and because of that, everything escalates to the bombastic final we know and love. It's one of the rare moments of a twist at the other side, and despite the fact we don't get this kind of surprise very often in the franchise, it makes situations like this all the more special. It isn't even out of the blue, as the game portrays Susie as a very intelligent, strategic person who may like to follow some rules but alters them in order to reach her goal if necessary. This leads us ultimately to the Forgotten Land. Although everyone memed Elfalin to be a villain, I think we all never truly expected the same old gimmick. It was clear that the new partner would play some sort of role in the narrative, and I'm actually quite happy how they handled the whole evil other half idea. Elfalin is technically the final boss, but under different circumstances, and when you beat the hardest challenge in the game, everything finally becomes one again. What do you think about Betrayal in Kirby games? Should they implement this kind of twist more often, or experiment with other kinds of storytelling? While many people criticize the Forgotten Land for keeping all the important information until the climax, I think it's the right approach for the franchise. The lore is nice and interesting, but these are Kirby games at the end, and the story should never distract the gameplay and annoy players who just want to enjoy the core, light-hearted experience. It will be interesting to see how the developers approach the narrative in the future, but whatever they come up with, please don't forget, never trust the partner character.